the former Victorian Liberal leader found new and imaginative ways to embarrass himself and the party he led to two ruinous defeats against Dan Andrews. Matthew Guy, looking slightly dishevelled, it must be said, a bit like a defendant at a local magistrates court there. Well, he sat down with 3AW's Neil Mitchell and went on an incoherent, self-serving rant blaming everyone and everything for his monumental failures. Everyone except himself, the thoroughly inept, weak leader who oversaw the party lose in a landslide. Again, he blamed the ABC, Sky News Primetime, and he blamed the faceless leakers.
These faceless leakers of the Liberal Party who profit from gossiping. And there's two in particular, but there's a number of others. And what you see are these people, Neil, who offer themselves predominantly to newspapers, but also to, like ABC, who are regular haters of the Liberal Party, who will just gossip. We need to expunge these faceless leakers of the Liberal Party because they do damage.
Yes, let's expunge the faceless leakers, but leakers or not, your hopeless party would still lose in a landslide against a polarising premier like Dan Andrews because you lot stood for nothing. Indeed, less than nothing. It's what I said for months in print and on Sky News, and it seems poor Matty Guy is still bitter about being told the truth on Sky News. It was here where we said his party was unelectable and would be annihilated at the polls. It was here where he was told how he could differentiate from Labor and give Victorians a real choice at the ballot box. He didn't listen, and he's still lashing out rather than accepting responsibility for his own failures.
I think Sky After Dark is more akin to the One Nation Party than the Liberal Party. In fact, I think they're incredibly damaging to the Liberal Party.
Really? In what way?
Well, a number of them are former Labor Party members, I never worked for the Labor Party. I never handed out for the Labor Party, like some of those at Sky After Dark who now criticise the Liberal Party and say what we stand for. I mean, some are dangerously politically stupid.
You know what's dangerously politically stupid, Matt? Trying to out-Labor Labor and losing in a landslide twice. You know what's dangerously politically stupid is believing your own BS to the point you thought you were going to beat Dan Andrews. If you'd listened to Sky News Prime Time, you would have known you were no shot. Not with the policies you were promoting, despite the fact that there was so much ill feeling towards the Dan Andrews government in this state, particularly among those disproportionately impacted by 6 lockdowns. The Victorian Liberals under Matthew Guy were too terrified to formulate any policies that deviated from the leftist, big spending, identity politics obsessed Victorian Labor government. The Victorian Libs backed Labor 100% on everything from radical trans policy, and Victoria has some of the most radical laws in that area. They backed the treaty with the Indigenous community, that's Lydia Thorpe's territory, and they promoted insane emission targets at a time when cost of living was the number one issue. In fact, the Victorian Libs had emission targets higher than the Albanese government. They had no bold ideological plans to reform state taxes, cut red tape in the energy sector to increase supply and provide cheap, reliable energy, drive down prices. And there certainly was no appetite to fight the so-called culture wars, even in the areas where Labor was on shaky ground. No, they were too gutless to do that. And in fact, they were so scared of being called right-wing that Matthew Guy attacked Liberal upper house candidate Renee Heath during the campaign because she was actually a Conservative. We can't have that. The bedwetting Victorian Liberals veered so far left that they stood for nothing other than high expenditure at a time of record debt. The Libs' spending promises were higher than Labor's at the election. And the party's far-left social and cultural policies turned off their traditional base. It's why I could predict with certainty that they would lose and lose bigly. After all, we already have a Labor Party. We don't need Liberal imposters pushing Green left policies. The truth is the Matthew Guy opposition got the drubbing they richly deserved. It wasn't due to leakers or Sky News or the ABC. It was due to a party that has fundamentally lost its way. Yes, Matthew Guy, I may have been a member of Young Labor when I was a teenager, but I grew up. You, on the other hand, have regressed and dragged the party so far left that it went to the election without a single centre-right policy, not one. You displayed zero political nous and even less courage. And sadly, we have more of the same with your successor, John Pesutto, who shamefully attacked Moira Deeming for attending a women's rights rally. And that issue is not over yet. We are going to hear plenty more about it. Today, Dan Andrews was mocking Pesutto for his ill treatment of Liberal women like Moira Deeming and Renee Heath.
I would have thought the Leader of the Opposition was a bit brave to be lecturing anybody on personal behaviour today. Of all days, if I were you, I'd stick to abusing women in your party room.
The Vic Libs remain a rabble, an unelectable rabble. And that's bad news for the Victorian public, who do not have a strong opposition to keep the Labor government accountable and have no real choice at the ballot box.